Okay guys, the last of our 6 support components in that scaffolding for verbal de-escalation, and for all of self-defense for that matter, is the idea of tactical breathing. Now, in my other downloads, I'm going to review quickly. We've talked about how during circumstances where I'm trying to relax, I might breathe only by the nose. In by the nose, out by the nose. Going to bed, relaxing, doing some yoga, good. In performance-related capacities, I'm going to breathe in by the nose to reduce how much I take in, to control that aperture, because there's a very real risk under conditions of stress of over-breathing by the mouth and fatiguing. So I want to control the aperture by breathing in through the nose, but I want to maximize expulsion by the mouth. We showed how all breathing has 4 phases, not just 2, not just inhale, exhale, but rather inhale, fullness, exhale, and emptiness. And one of the basic drills that we use is the so-called square breath, inhaling for 3 seconds, holding without strain for 3 seconds, exhaling by the mouth for 3, without collapsing or force, and then holding empty without strain for 3 seconds. The simple square breath, sometimes called the tactical breath, sometimes called the autogenic breath, has a host of benefits because it teaches us to find sufficiency, to avoid strain and excess in all of those phases. I don't over inhale, I don't over exhale, I don't add pressure when holding full or empty. These are important. It also extends those 2 controlled pauses between the inhale and exhale. And what I've said elsewhere is that the ultimate shape should be personalized to you. Once I've experimented a little bit with the square, I can lengthen and I can shorten different phases. What I would like to add in this download is some of the more recent research on what is termed the physiological sigh, or sometimes called the tactical sigh now in modern circles. And this is the idea that anytime I inhale, because the diaphragm goes down, I increase the space in my thorax, thereby giving my heart more room. And when I give my heart more room, the heart wants to expand, uses more blood, demands for more blood is sent. When I exhale, I collapse and compress the thoracic cavity. I give my heart less space. Heart has less need for blood, sends a signal to the brain, don't need as much, and the blood flow slows down to the heart. So, simply put, inhalation, or longer inhalation than exhale, a longer inhale than an exhale, is going to escalate my heart rate, because it is going to give my heart more time in an expanded cavity than in a compressed one. And that's going to place more demand and more signals up to the brain to send more blood. When I focus on longer exhales, I spend more time in a compressed cavity, which means my heart has less demand for blood and sends the signal to my brain that I need less blood. So when I exhale longer than I inhale, my heart will slow down. So this is a very simple and immediate way to calm your pulse rate down. And in effect, to calm your whole body down and quiet your nerves a little bit. Our body sighs regularly. If you think of that is precisely an exhale that is significantly longer than an inhale. We know that every 4 to 5 minutes there is a variability in our breathing. We have all sorts of fluctuations, and about every 4 to 5 minutes we'll see people sighing to reset that variability. Sighing is a very normal and natural component of resetting our breathing. We reset it all the time. Infants reset it. In fact, if we see a baby that's not sighing routinely at certain intervals, we know there's a problem. And there are all sorts of health issues that can pertain to that. So something as simple as a sigh can immediately give us a sense of greater relaxation and greater control and bring our pulse rate down. This is something that people do automatically. If you think of somebody who's an experienced operator and they're about to go into a circumstance, you can sometimes see them, they brace up and they go. We do it physiologically, but sometimes we're out of whack. Sometimes we're hypertensive or too anxious and we don't realize it. So how can we use the physiological side to our advantage? Well, in our verbal de-escalation, we can actually, in the middle of a drill, if I see myself out of breath, one thing that we'll do in our verbal de-escalation drills is we'll have somebody do push-ups without breathing until they're ready to burst. They either can't do more push-ups or absolutely need to breathe, and then they come up and they immediately go into verbal de-escalation in order to be able to function. And in order to do that, you'll normally see they take a little inhale, but then the majority of the time they're exhaling as they talk. People that start to hyperventilate and have panic attacks are generally trying to take in breath when there's no space. So if you're not doing it naturally, train yourself to take a sipping inhale and then to focus on talking a few words, a small phrase. Then a little inhale and then speaking again for a little phrase. And this is a very simple way to expand and lengthen my exhale and to minimize my inhale. Sipping inhale, like I have a running nose, and then I'm going to just talk for a little bit. Add a little bit of a phrase with punctuations. Sometimes during my pause, I'll take a sniffing inhale to give me a little bit more fuel to talk. But other times I'm going to talk, I might pause and I might not breathe because I'm still exhaling. I still have enough gases in there to get them out. I still need to make space for that oxygen for the next inhale. So the physiological sigh can be done very manifestly before I begin to speak. It can be included as an appropriate gesture. If I'm talking and somebody's telling me terrible things and I'm trying to de-escalate them, I can go, that sounds terrible. That must be horrible for you. I can integrate it into my speech. If I'm about to intervene in a circumstance, I can exhale and add it in, or I can add it in the middle of my speech, speaking in longer phrases and exhaling, and then taking a small sniffing inhale, very short, 1/8 of a second, exhaling and talking for 3 to 4 seconds, taking another 1/8 to 1/4 of a second inhale, talking again for 3 to 4 seconds. So these are all great ways to use the physiological sigh to our advantage. We have the science, we have the first-hand experience that it helps. We now just want to make sure that we're integrating it into our tactical habits. We will see all sorts of advantages the minute we start doing this, guys. And it's a very simple fix. In our long-term training, when we're doing meditation or when we have more time to relax, when we're using things like our square breath, we can now consciously experiment with perhaps a 3-second inhale, 3-second hold, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-second exhale, 2 to 3-second empty. So I could go and now I see I'm not out of breath because I'm training myself to lengthen and stretch that exhale. And that very simple exercise immediately calms you down. So in your meditation, in your stretching, in other work, I can play with having longer inhales when I'm trying to escalate, if I'm trying to replicate feelings of anxiety. But if I'm trying to relax myself for superior tactical function, I want to take the lessons of the physiological sigh and stretch that exhale as long as I can sustainably. So play with it in your mindfulness exercise. Play with it in your workout. Play with it in your stretching and your ground mobility. And then when you get to your role playing, integrate the physiological sigh in the way you speak, in the habits you use before you prepare, and it's going to give you immediate results.